Hey everyone, Arashi here, back at another upload. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of my biggest complaints about Star Wars Acolyte, and just kind of voicing my opinion about it. And also, I'm going to be delving into a series on how we can actually change and make Acolyte better, and I'm already working on that project itself, so hopefully it'll be out pretty soon. One of my biggest gripes about Acolyte was that we got it marketed as the Sith perspective on the Jedi, what the Sith thought and how they had to operate and move in a world that's full of Jedi, especially at the height of their power. But let's be honest here, we never really even got to see that. It really didn't even develop any further than we saw Plagueis, and then we saw Quamir as a Sith, maybe Tenebrous is around, who knows? I mean, heck, we don't even have an inkling of who could have potentially trained Quamir. I mean, it could be Plagueis, but that's just all theory at this point right now. My personal theory is that Plagueis actually did train Quamir, at least to a small extent. Obviously not to the extent that he would train someone like Palpatine, because Palpatine was more powerful and probably stronger in the Force, or actually is stronger in the Force just innately. Now, how I would personally like to have had Acolyte go, or how I would change Acolyte as it stands right now, is I would honestly start with those two main characters, Osha and May, and the whole Witch Coven thing that they came from. I would honestly erase that entire storyline from Star Wars Acolyte, because when you think about it, that's where all the confusion started. That's where they lost a lot of fans. That's where it started to not make any freaking sense. And I usually don't critique acting, but you know, Osha and May, their actress, she's just not a very good actress. I mean, I'm pretty sure she could be good at different roles, but just maybe this role didn't fit her character, or I shouldn't say her character, her personality type. Maybe this role just didn't fit it. I think she could be good at something else. I just felt like her acting fell flat in a lot of different areas, especially when we're supposed to be taking it seriously, and she just doesn't seem like she's not delivering the lines in a serious manner. And there's a few more places where I think that she lost me in her acting, but I'm not here to critique the acting. I'm here to actually talk about how I would make it better. So first off, I would eliminate Osha and May. Anakin Skywalker should be the only person in the entire galaxy that was created from the Force. It should be no one else, just Anakin. That story should just be unique to his character. So where do you go from there? After you take out Osha and May from the story, I would just have the story be mainly focused on Qimir and Vernestra. Especially with Qimir being the former apprentice of Vernestra, I believe that this would be perfect. And this is where the Sith perspective could actually really take place. Instead of Plagueis, I would actually have Darth Tenebrous. Darth Tenebrous would be the first one to actually plant the seeds of darkness within Qimir. I would actually have Qimir be the one that actually, maybe on a mission or something like that, he runs into Tenebrous and he doesn't realize that Tenebrous is actually a Sith. And then during this time, he actually starts to plant the seeds within him. And by seeds, I mean the seeds of deception, the seeds of, you know, not trusting the Jedi, the seeds of noticing the Jedi's flaws, and I would still have them be... I still like that story put about Acolyte where the Jedi are kind of lying and trying to cover up their own asses for things that they're doing wrong, and I honestly think that's a nice plot point to have. Also, too, at some point, Qimir had to have felt the dark side of the Force at some point, because when he first appears and he fights all the Jedi and he was talking to Soul, he said that he just wants freedom to practice what he wants, without the Jedi actually meddling in his business. And maybe in the past, something like this happened where he felt the dark side power and he got a taste of it for himself, and then now he just wants to practice nothing but the dark side. And instead of trying to create balance with it with his light side abilities as well, maybe Qimir actually went a little bit too far and he's fully corrupted now. And maybe at one point the Jedi actually attempted to stop him, and then that's why he actually defected and left the Jedi Order entirely. And instead of those few Jedi that were actually trying to cover up the death of the Witch's Coven, maybe that Vernestra and the rest of her little squad of Jedi and other people like that are trying to hide the fact that Qimir defected to the dark side of the Force and is now killing Jedi or anybody who gets close to him. And Vernestra is actually falling apart on the inside mentally because she's the one who allowed it to happen. She's the one who didn't pick up on Qimir's changes and didn't notice him and was neglecting him for the most part. And the reason why she neglected him for so long is because if you notice in the show, Vernestra actually is probably more close to the Senate than we actually think she is. She kind of plays more of a politician role than she is a Jedi. So maybe she got so caught up and so deep within the Senate as a Jedi politician essentially that she never even noticed that Qimir was actually switching and changing to the dark side of the Force. And once Vernestra gets word of this stuff and she starts to get this feeling that it might be Qimir out there in the galaxy killing Jedi, I would actually put it on Vernestra herself to want to finish it, you know, by herself. So that's why she doesn't necessarily tell Yoda about what's going on or the council about what's going on, because she wants to finish it herself. She feels like no one else should have to. But overall, this is where we'll get the perspective shift in the show. This is where we'll actually switch to the eyes of Tenebrous and the eyes of Qimir and how they have to operate in a galaxy and train and do things right underneath the Jedi's noses. And right now, at this time, they would have to try to hide themselves to the best of their ability. Not kind of like what Chimera is doing. Chimera is just kind of out and about. This is something that Tenebrous would frown upon. This is something that Tenebrous would not want Chimera to do whatsoever, while he's training him at least. He wants the Sith's grand plan to stay just that, the Sith's grand plan, although Chimera would want revenge against the Jedi, or to show the Jedi what they're missing out on, to show the Jedi just how powerful he became through the dark side of the Force. This would ultimately lead to a little bit of conflict between Tenebrous and Chimera himself, between Master and Apprentice, with Chimera constantly raging and getting mad at Tenebrous for not allowing him to go against the Jedi or go after some Jedi, which would ultimately lead Tenebrous to believe that although Chimera is powerful, that he is not the perfect apprentice for him, and that he would actually eventually later on go after Plagueis. But anyway, that's all I got for this right now, for how I'm actually writing my version of Acolyte right now, and that's honestly, I'm trying to make it fit seamlessly into Phantom Menace, and that's what I'm running into problems with. So I'm not going to talk about the next part yet. So just stay tuned for part 2, coming pretty soon. I'll have it done by, I'd probably say Friday. I'm just going to be trying to write it out as fast as I possibly can, while also making it make sense. That's the whole point of why I'm making this. I want to make it make sense. But anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. May the Force be with you, and have a great rest of your day.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.